most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Racehour, sponsored by Bet365 and Gambling.com. Diarmuid has a big smile on his face there, joined by Diarmuid, Nolan and Tony Keenan. This week we're going to do Novice Hurdlers, and we're going to do a review and a few listeners' questions. So we'll crack into that in a minute. But Diarmuid, seeing as you're smiling, what's all that about? You can't be that happy as a Wicklow fan. Is that a Wicklow jersey you're wearing?
It's a Wicklow jersey. Yeah. Sure. Look, I've been to the county here now long enough. Just, any money evening spent listening to your dulcet Dungarvan tones, Cass, is a good evening spent.
Well, Dungarvan is buzzing after Declan Queenie winning a grade 1 on Friday. We'll get into that later. Tony, how are you keeping? How's Autumn Monaghan?
Terrible. I tell you what, lads, I must have been talking too much here last week because I lost my voice for the guts of the last week after the show. And I'll tell you another thing, it wasn't for shouting home winners because I wasn't doing any of that either. Jesus, I was wipeout here Thursday and Friday and just about coming back. So let you two lads talk plenty tonight.
Yeah. Oh, punting wise, I had a great Christmas, great few days, and then the weekend it all went wrong. I laid one in England and it won ahead on the line, and then I said I'd back Caliph de Burley once he was 2 fences in. Yeah. He was a good thing, sure. He was a mile clear, and he was still 1.68, something like that on the machine. And I backed him as well. A good bet, not a good bet, but like a normal bet, and that beat. So drew up tools, then drew up stumps for it. Then I backed your one Sunday, Gringo Dobrell, another 10 of misery, Tony. So it all went wrong for me. Yeah, all went wrong for me punting at the weekend. We'll crack in. We'll have a bit Dermo. We'll have a quick chat about Harry Cobden first, because that's what everyone's talking about. I suppose by the time they get this in on Wednesday, we're Monday night, they'll probably all be sick of hearing about him. But you're the jockey's judge of the three of us now. What do you think of the move? Last week you were... Sorry, Dermo. Last week you were claiming that it had never happened and that Mark watched...
That is not what I said. All I said was I didn't think it would happen because of Christmas or anything else, and I don't think it has. You kind of hit the nail on the head last week when you said Mark Walsh is 40. I'd say he's just retiring, and I think since AP McCoy spent a whole season saying goodbye to every single race course, they don't do that anymore. Jockeys, they tend to have their whatever big winner they can get towards the end of the season, and they just jump off that horse and go away home. Noel Feely and Rachel Blackmore, they all kind of did that. I'd say Mark Walsh, he'll be the same. He probably won't say anything and he could just go off into the distance and not say a word, more than likely by the cut of him. But look, fantastic jockey. But Harry Cobden, there was the feeling that something was kind of half coming there at the fact that he's been riding a lot more for Willie Mullins, and I'd say JP McMahon has thought before this lad snapped up by somebody else, I'd say we better take him. Look, it's a great move for them. He's a brilliant jockey. He's in my opinion, he's up there with Jack Kennedy and Paul Townend and Sean Bowen. Anyway, it's the four of them are probably the best four around. It's just very interesting now to see kind of what happens now, because like this will affect the likes of, you could see the likes of Nico de Boinville, obviously Mark Walsh, even Danny Mullins, where you could see Harry Cobden when maybe JP doesn't have one in a big race. You could see him slotting in more as number 2 now down in Willie Mullins, where he was shaping up like that anyway. Willie Mullins has been since Harry Cobden won the Scottish Grand National on Captain Cody with that brilliant ride. So it's just interesting all around now to see kind of how it all falls, and then who replaces Harry Cobden over in Paul Nicholls as well. It's all very interesting. Who would you off the top of your head now, Cass, if I had to pick one jockey to replace him and Paul Nicholls, who would you say will fall in there?
I'd say Freddie Ginger will have a chance at it, won't he? Like Nicholls often brings them on. He's young, yeah, but he's a long time at it and he is good.
He's very good. He's brilliant.
I'd like you genuinely now would be more in tune with all this. Like, who'd be the leading candidates over there to replace him?
He seems to just be using Harry Cobden and then both the Freddies. See, like I'd say he probably will try for Sean Bowen, but whether Sean Bowen's happy out, I'd say in the position he's in. But the only thing for Sean Bowen is that Sean Bowen has said that he wants to ride a Cheltenham winner. He has all the numbers, but he wants to be on a higher class of horse. So you would wonder whether the likes of him could kind of fall in there. Like if I was Paul Nicholls, I'd go all out now for somebody a little bit older, like a Brian Hughes, and bring him in. Then you have the other two kind of young lads kind of coming along, and I think that the likes of a Brian Hughes would jump at this, because he's been champion jockey a few times, but the likes of him or somebody like that are the jockeys I'd be bringing in anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Nichols wouldn't have a great record with the older fellas going in. Remember Darrell Jacob? He had they didn't get on well, and then he had.
Noel Feely though was brilliant. Noel
Yeah.
Feely got that bad injury, remember? But that was kind of it. But yeah, I'd be going for somebody of that age now to lead in the likes of a Freddie. Freddie Gingle is brilliant, but he's very young. He's very young now. He really is.
Yeah. Look, he might go for someone from Ireland either, bring over Sam Ewing or someone like that. Try and get someone in the second division in Ireland, if you know what I mean.
Sam Ewing would be a great one. Yeah, that's true.
You never know. I'm not that interested in jockeys. I find the good ones are good enough. It's when you have big upgrades and downgrades. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Tony,
that's
you know. Tony, what do you think? Could you see any names in mind for how it's going to affect either? I think it's. Dermo mentioned Danny Mullins. It might affect him more than most because Dermo said that Cobden was in line to become second at Whitty's, but I would have said he was nowhere near that now. That it's Danny and Patrick, and then it's
no, on the big
nowhere.
days he's been the big days of late. He's been kind of coming in for a few, in my opinion. Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have views on the traded places angle at all, but I would expect teething problems for a jockey like this taking over such a high profile job. But it's quite different to the one he's had before. McManus crowd like to win handicaps, so requires a certain degree of handicap and horses. That's a unique bit of tradecraft itself. And then also just on a basic thing, is he going to be riding in Ireland an awful lot, or is he going to be primarily based in Britain? Like the Irish tracks are, just require a totally different type of track craft to some of the British tracks. And I think when Colin Keane went over to England this season, I can't say I was watching all of his rides or far from it, but he definitely did seem to struggle in the early stages with getting to grips with some of the English tracks that are very, very different to Irish tracks. And style of racing obviously is different in Ireland. Like it's one thing maybe riding at the big galloping tracks, which maybe there are tracks akin to them in Britain, but the Clonmels and Galway, because Galway is obviously going to be a big thing for McManus. Always will be in the summertime. Different challenge, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And look back to the weekend that was, I suppose, Friday chronologically. Big racing in Ireland. We had I think it's the Ballymore it's called, isn't it now? The Ballymore Properties or whatever it's called. Hurdles, the 2.5 mile grade 1 at Naas. And Tony, huge win for Declan Queally. His first win as a grade 1, and it's an unbelievable achievement, isn't it, to win it training and riding.
Yeah, absolutely savage. This race was upgraded to a grade 1 12 years ago, and since then Mullins has won it 5 times, Elliott 5 times, and the Bromhead won. And I think only 3 other trainers than those 3 have actually even had a placed horse in it. So to go and win it is kind of savage going. Didn't seem a particularly hard race to assess from hard luck or anything like that. I don't think there was any real hard luck. I'll come to the hurdles bit in a minute, but Declan Queally just built the pace kind of from the outset, burnt them off gradually. The kind of rags were left behind kind of early enough, and Sortudo came to kind of be his main chance. Maybe Sortudo was given a little bit to do, and you can argue Patrick Mullins isn't the most stylish, but I don't really think Sortudo had an awful lot of excuses. He got there to him kind of a furlong out, and Declan Quealy's horse just like stated. I suppose the angle with Sortudo maybe improving the next time is like Sortudo ran 5 times as a bumper horse, won first time in Tramore last season, and then kind of 3 okay-ish runs, Leopardstown, Cheltenham, but then his best run was his last run of the season. I do wonder if he's a horse that needs kind of racing to bring him along. I think if you are fancying Sortudo for something, it might be an angle like that. Now, the low sun kind of thing, lads, I find this very hard to assess, but the one thing that always amuses me is that the beaten connections have an awful habit of saying, "Oh, we would have really benefited from the hurdles been in the race now." Lads, I don't know how they can say that. Like, it's such a freakish kind of a thing. Like, it only happens at certain times of the year. At some tracks, I'd say it's more significant than others. Now, I'd say the race at Naas was significant because where they were taking the hurdles out, like you were taking them out, there was no hurdle kind of from the traditional third last in Naas. There would be in Punchestown, the racing there today, and taking them out down the back. I don't know it's just as significant as that, but I just don't know how anyone could be so dogmatic that the hurdle or two would have changed the outcome. Although the only thing I suppose you could argue is that I thought that didn't jump that well But yeah, it's just a freakish kind of thing. Like what a horse could make of one of these races once in his kind of lifetime, I'd say, where the obstacles are taken out. Like never seems to happen really in the spring festivals at all. So yeah, what do you think of this? Like I know my Paddy Daddy was an example of this, or my Daddy Paddy, whatever his name is, like the seemed to be blaming the lack of hurdles in the form. I don't know, I thought Idaho Sun just was a bit like I'll sort that, just probably found more for pressure than the runner up.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought in the I'll sort that you might have had a case because I'll sort that could be getting tired, but it's not like he was running up and down in the one spot and it looked like he'd clatter one and clamber over it in fair. But my Daddy Paddy, I thought was ridiculous because he was beaten fair and square, and even I thought normally I think the horse in front when they're coming around the hurdle, obviously the jockey like the Finian's Rainbow that time with Garrity and Russell was coming on Big Zeb or something, or
Yeah.
the size in Europe, wasn't it?
Size
So
in
it was Andrew
Europe,
Lynch.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
Andrew Lynch at size in Europe, and Garrity completely closed the gap, and it basically cost size in Europe the race that they had to go around the fence. Now, I I think the one in front always has the advantage because they can always close the gap. But in the Idaho Sun race, the jockey, I don't know who the Idaho Sun race, I don't know who the jockey was.
Brian
Brian
Carver.
Carver. Brian Carver.
Yeah.
Brian Carver, like he actually left a gap there. I thought was a terrible piece of riding that he got away with, and my Daddy Paddy was nowhere near good enough to actually take the gap and go by, and he'd every chance to do it. So I definitely think in that instance that it wouldn't have made an ounce of difference to the race because Idaho Sun is such a strong stayer as we saw in the bumper. But that in that instance, but like you say, it's very hard to judge. Deck Wheelie though, sorry, Tony. Yeah.
Yeah, just the one other thing on the Ballymore area is that the market was very interesting now, particularly obviously the drift on Sitbacco. Very hard to see where that drift was coming out of now. Like I think himself and Sortudo had broadly similar kind of form claims on the maiden hurdle, both impressive. Town and Bick and that one from the Goff kind of what was he sixes on the exchanges and run kind of accordingly. I don't know with the market knew anyway, shall we say? The market, of course,
Yeah.
did not know about Classical Creek of Elliott's. He was the one that was kind of strong in the betting and fairly disappointing, to be frank. I don't like him as a horse anyway. I think he carries his head very high. And like maybe fences where he can dictate will suit him, but I wouldn't like him in a finish now of a hurdle race. There's something he's holding a bit back. And on the other thing, I actually think Elliott ran the wrong horse in this race. By the way, like the horse he should have been running in this race was Road Exile. He palpably hated 2 miles from Punchestown yesterday. Now the inside track that was a bad call there now out of him. I think Road Exile might have been quite competitive in this and definitely would have been well fit to hit the frame.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Road Exile in a second when we talk about the great. I can't remember the Moscow Flyer. I just want to say about Deck Wheelie, like it is massive. And actually, Tony, you might have spotted it, but the winner, a guy called David Needham, he's a man in his 80s, right? And he's a big dog man, a big coursing man, and he comes over to Sungarvan and he has a few pints in O'Connor's bar. That's where I met you that time, Tony, when we went for the pint. And he comes
nice
over and
place,
has a few pints. Yeah. And he's never spent any more than 3 or 4 grand on a horse. He spent 3.5 grand on this fella as a store or as a phone, I don't know. And he's had savage luck, and he even had natural luck, who ended up with your friends.
I'm going to tell you a funny one now. Yeah.
No, that's him. That's the man.
My friend. Yeah, my friend, the same natural luck who's this owner's last horse, from Declan Quillian. Declan was kind of saying, lad, you can't take this horse belonging to a lovely old gentleman and all this type of stuff. And I'd say they were a bit upset at the time, but the horse they got to replace it has worked out pretty well.
Yes.
So it was all kind of all for luck anyway.
He's a lucky man anyway, David Needham. Like to buy a horse for 3.5 grand and get a grade 1. But fair play to Declan Queally onwards and upwards. Fair to Tony, you said it was betting without Deck Queally of who might break into the ranks of Cromwell, Elliott and Willie Mullins. So you seem to be going on the right path with that. As well as that at the weekend, Kempton, Diarmuid, the English stuff probably not much worth talking about. It's sad with Caliph de Burley getting killed at Kempton. That was off to see. Alan King had a treble. It was like something from 20 years ago watching, but nothing nothing in the way of Cheltenham form, I'd say. And then yesterday at Punchestown, I'd like to know how impressed you are with the Grade 3 chase. I thought Capture Pike was very good in what looked a strong race. Like I thought that Predator's Gold ran his race. The bounce factor could have been there. Jacob's Ladder ran really well, stayed on. He's not, he's probably a 130 something horse. But I just thought Danny gave Capital Pike a brilliant now Danny's brilliant, but normally you're normally talking about him from the front, aren't we, a lot? And he completely held him up out the back. Maybe it was a hot pace, really patient, jumped really well. And I thought a strongly run Arkle might really suit that horse. You know, he's kind of stayed at the 2-3. I'd love to hear what you thought about him, or am I getting a bit excited? I had a few quid in him now at the 40s after. That's why I'm asking. Tony, what did you think?
Yeah, don't mind that at all. I do think it was reasonably strong race, but also I just to talk about team tactics. Jigginstown kind of used anti-team tactics here. Like to me, the enabler would up and ruin the chance of Predator's Gold altogether. Like Ewing give Town no peace at all in Predator's Gold. I back Predator's Gold here. I was in good terms because I was at the right kind of price, but God, he's a hard horse to like. I think he's had 5 goals now in graded races. It's an awful habit of finding a way to get beat. And someone said to me afterwards, I kind of agree. He jumps every fence kind of differently. He's attacking them and he's backing off them, and I just doesn't do things right. And then, with all that, you think after jumping the second last, he's kicked clear, and then he kind of dies a little bit from there. Now maybe he's paid for been involved in the pace battle. Captain Pike, very similar tactics to the tactics they kind of used with him on Salvador Mundi race, kind of just arriving there very late. That's quite unusual, I think, in 2 mile, graded chases with, you kind of drop them out a bit and come for a late run. Like you do see that maybe Grand Annuals and handicap, maybe also handicap chases. It's worked very well twice. I would have had in my head with Captain Pike that after last season, what he ran in the Turners with Cheltenham, he didn't get home at all. He was a 2 miler, hence why I wasn't that sure about him on Sunday. But he seems to have got the trip well in a kind of a strongly run race. But geez, I see you really, you couldn't go up to 3 miles from anywhere. I think it was 2, 3 and a half, right, Taylor's track, speed track enough there on Sunday. So I would say the Arkle. If there is a Cheltenham race, from probably the Arkle more likely than the Broadway at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Arkle. And the other big race at Punchestown Dermo was the Moscow Flyer. And Sober, he was impressive at the finish after jumping a bit sketchily earlier on. I wasn't blown away now. I'd say it wasn't a great race. I'd say Road Exile's a chaser. He's absolutely enormous, Road Exile. He's about twice the size of the other two going around the place. Were you more impressed than me, or what did you think? Hold on, Tony. We'll go for your view on it, actually. Dermot's having a bit of technical issue there with his mic.
Having technical issues there.
I am, yeah. Sorry, I think I'm back to know me.
Yeah, go on, Dermot. We're going to you. So
go on ahead, Jeremy. Yeah.
Sorry there, my mic was acting the goat. I thought it was a nothing race. I didn't like his jumping. I thought he ran through kind of very well at the end, but I don't know. He struck me now as a horse that if he's their number one now going into the Supreme, I'd say Tony Keenan was right about them, and Willie Mullins is in fact gone at the game, as Tony said a few weeks ago.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Tony sticking to that.
A horse that absolutely hated the whole experience, like from after a furlong or two, has finished 5.5 lengths second to him. So I think that puts a fairly black mark on the form. Now look, with Sober, what he did after 2 out was really impressive. He just come there absolutely swinging like a Mullins novice. We've seen many times that part of it was really impressive. But I just think that you couldn't get 2 enthused about the form. And also, like Sober is 7. You know what? He's at 16 or 18 starts in the flat. Like he is a late comer to hurdling. You know, him being maybe a bit of a shoddy jumper shouldn't really be a surprise, given where he's kind of coming from. And you do wonder if, the flat campaign is really what they're about with him, given the owners too. Not to say that anyone's going to be turning up their nose at Cheltenham winners at the same time.
Yeah. Does look a weak race. We'll crack in to the novice preview. And let's start, Tony, do you want to touch on any of the bumper horses? There was 2 very good ones. The House Hannah today at Punchestown, and there was on last Friday at Naas. There was, I can't remember, Currig or whatever it was that Patrick rode. Both of them very impressive, I thought.
Yeah. I actually there's a pal of mine has actually got some small part of House Hannah there as well. A fella from up Tyrone, my direction there. He's been telling me about it for a few months there. The good day out today. And yeah, she was brilliant. And the one that kind of went off and tore away in the lead, Jesus, just made her look better and better. The 4-year-old winner was Kieran or whatever his name is. Yeah, very steadily run race there. Probably was a bit more forward in the cup, but was a Jigginstown, there was a Ross O'Sullivan horse, even an Emmett Mullins there, I think filmed the next 3 places. They were all ridden with a bit more stage. I know, I'm not saying they're beating them, but you just wonder with a kind of a steady run race that like, it was the first 4-year-old bumper of the year. Can be hard getting the 4-year-olds at Cheltenham. Older horse, I think typically would get the better of it, but yeah, just those horses again, like they're getting a little bit tight to get another run in before Cheltenham. Would be going there with one start. The DRF the first day of the DRF is 31st of January this year, so we're now the 12th of January today. So like it is tight if they need to get another run in the graded race.
Yeah, he did a very good ground action, I thought, though, Kerry. He could improve again if they got a bit of better ground on the Wednesday. Okay, so Novice Hurdlers, right? Dermo has an idea. We're going to go through these individual horses, sort of from the top of the market. Tony's going to take the Irish ones. Dermot's going to take the UK ones, and we have a few listeners' questions as well after. So we're going to do it by divisions and try and do a little Christmas review as we go. So we'll see how this works out. So Tony, we're going to go to the Supreme, and head of the market, 92 favourite with Bet365 is El Kairos. We all know what happened, but what's your assessment of him from Christmas, and what's your assessment of him as a Supreme favourite?
Yeah, massive wow factor with how he quickened up to go and lead at the last. But also the big picture stuff is he's the favourite for a Grade 1, and he's coming off a fall in a maiden hurdle. So yeah, I think I can quite comfortably pass over the 9-2. The other thought I had with him is like, has he got as big a trainer upgraded as he's got a jockey upgrade here? Like, has Elliot kind of got a bit of improvement out of him here? For leaving, who was you before the Moors, was it?
Gary Moore, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm only kind of throwing that out there, but no, I think at the price out, Jesus, I could definitely leave him off now at 4.5 to 1.
Yeah, he's teeny weeny panini. Like he's really small.
Yeah,
he's really small. You'd wonder how much he'd improve. Well, whatever that matters. That other horse, South Hannah, that we were talking about, the bumper. Jesus, like you wouldn't be seen in the photo if you brought her to the Debs. Absolute unit of a thing. Like, Dermo next on the list, Old Park Star, 6 to 1.
Cracking horse. My idea of the Supreme winner. Actually, I just thought that was a monstrous performance last in the form. Hasn't quite worked out. Our old friend there, Forbane Star there as well. We're not sure about him anymore, but form that you'd kind of have question marks about will run on Saturday. But at this moment, if I had to have 10 or 20 euro on one, it would definitely be him. He just blew my mind that day when he ran. Just so effortless and I think takes the world of stopping if he's as good as that again.
Yeah. I want to go back to El Kairos. Actually, had a small note written down here. Like he's by no risk at all, Tony, and his best horses. I think there's a little bit of quirkiness in him as he was going. Now he looked brilliant as he was sweeping by, but like his best horses are Kopek the Board, Blood Destiny, Allegory Devassi, Salvatore Mundi, Aucan Risk. There's a lot of difficult characters in there, so that's another little thing about Kairos. Not against him, because No Risk at All gets an awful lot of very good horses, to be fair to him, but they do have quirks in them. That's just another small thing. So Dermo, you love Old Park Star. I'd agree with you. The form is a bit smelly now.
Yeah. Until Saturday
we'll
now.
See what
yeah.
I think I'd rather back him a 3 to 1 if he beats a better field somewhere else. But I think Nicky, he might go to a softer target as the thing.
No, it looks like he's taking on Hurricane George on Saturday in the Supreme Trial at Haydock, which would be
Hurricane Pat. Is this the name?
Hurricane
of the
Pat?
horse?
Sorry,
yeah, he's a weapon as well.
Weapon of a horse. So I think that will kind of properly tell us. But I wouldn't be scared of anyone anyway.
Oh, geez, that'd be good now if that's on Saturday. I didn't realise that. That'll be exciting this weekend. Tony, talk the talk. There's been a lot of talk about him, and we did have a question from my friend I used to horse with him, Jimmy Nolan, was on to us. Talk the talk should be favoured. He's the one that would have the best Grade 1 form had he not fallen at Leopardstown.
Yeah, well, there's obviously more substance to him, absolutely. Faller again, though, lads, and you'd never guess who he's kind of related to in his family there. He's related to, I suppose, a Cheltenham anti-hero in Goshen. So I hope that isn't a family trait, this kind of nonsense. So there you go.
Well, he's a chestnut. Goshen was a chestnut, and he'd 4 white, big white socks and a white blaze like him. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, feel a little bit of maybe missed me chance back to him at Christmas now. I don't know whether I want to get it back him now, but that's it. Absolutely loved what he did after 2 out, the way he kind of came back on the bridle and kind of quick and round the outer. Kind of bait. Jumping's a little bit of a worry. It was fairly dreadful at Limerick on debut, or 3 starts back. It wasn't great at Fairyhouse and obviously the fall. And he made a mistake or two actually before that. So that'd be a little bit of a worry. Presumably he's going to go DRF before Cheltenham at this point.
Yeah, geez, I don't know. I think he looks a desperate 13th, 8th favourite for that DRF race. He's very leery, isn't he? His jumping is
There's a bit of
poor,
that, yeah.
heads up in the air. I don't even know what he was doing in that last, the way he jumped. He switched right, and I don't think the old course Cheltenham's going to suit him at all. I'd be definitely checking
He's
him
a
out.
bit
Big
more.
offer.
He's a bit of the Josephs, though, isn't it? A lot of the Josephs can have this issue early on in their career. Larry's a bit harsh, is it?
I don't know. His head is very high now. He's very tall though. He's a tall, gangly kind of horse. And
Yeah, I thought
maybe
he was
the
just a
fact
big
he's
dope as
flashy
opposed to
chestnut.
yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think you want a big dope in a Supreme. They're not.
That's hard to do. Yeah,
They,
fair enough.
well, one of them
So,
won it.
yeah.
One of them did win it, but they head down. Ended up 3 mile hurdling. I can't think of the name. It was a Willie horse. About
Classical
6-7
Dream.
years. Classical Dream. There we go. Yeah. He was that kind of a horse, but he got away with it. My Daddy Paddy's next on the list, Dermo.
I can't believe he's shorter than. Completely agree with Tony. Heard Harry Fry was on the Nick Luck show a few weeks back, and he said that he just doesn't understand the talk that Idaho's son was better off for the hurdle. He was in front, so if he hits the last, or he jumps the last very well, he could have went further clear. If anything, really likable horse, very very talented, but I don't think he had any excuse for being beaten by Idaho's son. I think it's like when a football manager tries to say, "Oh, sure, it was very windy and lashing rain." Sure, the other team played in the same thing. It's just kind of nonsense. So, 12-1, it definitely wouldn't be going near him at those odds.
Yeah, and
from a win point of view.
Idaho's son's kind of tied in there. He's next in the list at 16-1. The only thing I'd say with him, Dermo, though, is
I think he's a Ballymore horse.
He can't go 2 miles. Completely the wrong race. You're dead right. He has to go up and trip. To go up and trip. Like, he didn't have the tactical speed in the bumper. He had a nice posse in the bumper coming around the bend there last year. He might have been 5th or 6th, and all of a sudden he was nearly out the back of Teddy and then stayed on really well. He just doesn't have any tactical speed. He's an absolute galloper. So
he's a beautiful horse. He'll be one for the 3 mile chase next year, I think. Even he was, the way he galloped up that straight at Aintree. I know Aintree is a flat track, but that galloping up that straight takes getting. You're very much on your own up that straight there. So he looked to me after the race. I actually said to a friend of mine, he'd be one that I would back for like a Coral Gold Cup in the future, the way he galloped home. Looks a real beautiful horse like that. But oh no, God, I'd 100% be going up and trip. And look, Harry Fry, this isn't beyond the realms of possibility. Harry Fry did this with Rock and Ruby as well. So it's, him going up and trip wouldn't be something I'd be writing off at all. And that middle race, as we'll discuss later on, that is up for grabs too. So I would say watch this space. I wouldn't be guaranteed that he'll run here all right.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Next on our list is Fou de Trois. All big talking horse and Willies. I'll take that one. Just I'd have a half a line into the Donnellys via a friend of a good friend of Joe's, a friend of mine's dad would be chatting to him a bit, and definitely they do take a lot of this fella. The Willie wouldn't be talking to him much, but the signs are this fella must be good, but it's getting late to be getting out. That's all. There's no way you want to be backing him now, I think. So I don't think he even has an entry to DRF, does he? So to be made in hurdle somewhere and see then, or they might do the old school, pitch him into a race straight away at Cheltenham. Oh, they can't do that, can they?
They can't do it anymore. No, Melon
maybe he ran in
from
France. He ran in France. He finished third in Novice Hurdlers, so he probably can do it. Do you know what I mean? He's had a run over.
Oh, sorry, yeah. But even Melon had one quick run, didn't he, in February, and nearly won the Supreme that year. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Yeah.
If they have members, a horse about 6 years ago, they did that with another Donnelly horse, and they actually never ran again. Nothing to do with that race.
Bring on the night, wasn't it?
Oh, go on. Yeah, that's him. Jeez, that's off.
It was Bring On the Night.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's fabulous stuff.
yeah. It was. Yeah.
That's very impressive. Apparently, he was the next Hurricane Fly, Gordon de Willie. So, Mossy, Fedro, Diarmuid, he was good at Chepstow, and Pat
Jeez, he was
Cooney kind
brilliant.
of talked about him. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
Pat talks about him later in the show as well.
Yeah, so I won't say too much because Pat literally summed it all up to perfection. Watch this race back at Chepstow. Chepstow can fall under the radar. It was monstrous, and the speed, beautiful hurdler as well. Absolutely gorgeous, proper hurdler. Like, as in, he just met them all low and slick. Yeah, 16-1 now. Like, Old Park Star, I love him, but if he was to fluff his lines on Saturday, I'd be quick to jump on board this lad now. It's between those two for me. I think he's this was just watch this race back if you haven't. This was a really good performance and as slick as you'd get.
And next on the list is Ballyfad. He's kind of 20-1. And through the miracle of technology, you'll see him in a different area. And would you believe this is the third time I'm going to hear Tony Keenan talk about Ballyfad? So I definitely know what he's going to say.
The next cut there, you'll be in Queely's bar again.
But the two setups I've used so far was, he reminds me of Work Ahead Tony, who seems like a Tony Keenan bet. But we'll hopefully this one will make the edit. But he does remind me of Work Ahead a bit. He's that kind of a galloper. And I'd much prefer him at 6-1 than 13-8 talk for the DRF race. But is he a supreme horse?
I don't know, but he showed a lot more speed at Leopardstown than he had in his bumpers in the Christmas race. Quite different ground, especially the testing ground bumper. He'd won the winner's bumper at Punchestown. That form would actually be boosted since Charles Bourne outside that. Won at Limerick since. Jump well, if a bit right, and kind of quickened the way well from them. Hope that Gordon Ed is going to give him a chance to prove he's a 2-miler. And I suppose after road exit, blotting his copybook a bit yesterday, the 2 miles anyway. You'd like to think that he wouldn't. Caver's going for the maiden hurdle. I have backed him, but it was kind of on a big price at exchanges, which maybe suggests he's not going to go the 2-mile route. But yeah, I think you definitely have to give him a chance. Look, as we were saying, 2 of the horses ahead of the betting list are coming off falls. Like it's not. It doesn't look like the most solid front end to it, to me anyway. And if you know what, we're after talking about the first 8 there. If someone give me any other horse at I don't know 8 or 10-1, I'd kind of think I'd like to back that rather maybe than.
Thought you were going to say even money there.
No, even money. Sorry, what price would that be, Stephen? That's actually one of yours. Sorry, I'm after disgracing myself for the maths of that probably, but what price would that be?
Oh, I'd probably back it.
Even.
Yeah, you'd back it at over evens, would you? I would have thought to be something come out of somewhere. Yeah. And the two we haven't mentioned, Davy Crockett, I wonder is he a bit forgotten because he's obviously out of any power, a half brother to Mystical Power. Mystical Power did the same thing, kind of Galway runs and summer runs and improving, and he was probably better than Mystical Power was in a way, and he's a big price, and it was always the plan to go the way they were going, so I'd be slightly interested in him. And Le Devon Enfant, I thought Willies weren't, some of Willies were running bad and drifting. Some of Willie's, running bad and drifting. So I wonder.
He drifted mad as well.
Yeah, huge drift. So he'd be one I wouldn't rule out running well at the DRF, but he's 14-1 for the DRF. So, do you want to be backing him for the Supreme? Certainly not. But unless you get a 3-figure price, which you can on the exchanges. But yeah, well, what price would it be? Gee, I'd say if you gave me 7-4, that wasn't one of them, or 2-1, I'd probably back it for an interest, something like that. There's a listener will tell us that the correct price is probably more like a bigger price, I think you would have thought, based on the maths, wouldn't you? It'd probably be 3-4-1 you'd want, but I think I'd settle for 5-2 or something like that. The Turners, hard to talk about, and we'll be quicker here.
Sorry, Cass, just one horse from the one of the rags there who will be a 3-figure price there on the Betfair Exchange is a horse for Nicky Richards called Upon Tweed. I just happen to be going back through kind of racing. This horse was absolutely brilliant at Ayr. He's about 40-1. I say any price on the exchange. The Supreme was talked about afterwards. He hammered a Gordon Elliott horse called Stade Bonnet last time. Gave him £7. Now he's bang average, this Stade Bonnet, but he gave him £7. Hammered him. Stade Bonnet has come out afterwards and won quite well, or Bonnet maybe. Won at Tremor and won easy enough as well. And this lad devoured him, giving him £7. After the race, Nicky Richards was. I've met Nicky Richards before. You say that Noel Meade is one of the nicest men in racing. I raise you Nicky Richards, who's an absolute gentleman. I happened to have a pint with him a few years ago at the DRF. It was just an absolute gentleman of a man. But he was positively giddy about this horse afterwards. He said, I try not to be excited about him, but God, I am. And this horse absolutely, he was brilliant. He wasn't shying away from Cheltenham at all with him. And at 40-1 or so, I'd like to see him in a better race now in the meantime. But I think at kind of, 3-figure price in the exchanges there, Cass, I think he could be a fun bet. He looked very talented to me now.
Yeah.
Upon tweet.
Yeah, remember the horse well. The Turners, is that what it's called? Now, let's rattle through these, lads, right? So, Diarmuid, your first one up, an English favourite, and favourite by a mile because it's got a 16-1 the field or 14-1 the field.
Yeah.
No Drama Descend is 7-2. Impressive at Cheltenham, very. Impressive at Sandown, very. And maybe a bit less impressive in the Chala.
Yeah, but kind of, he had his excuses that day.
Yeah, quick round.
He would have been tired. I think he's awesome. I think he's really, really good. I also think the preview circuit's going to play to his favour. I'd say between now and then, he will be a bigger price on the day, I think, at Cheltenham, because people will be looking to take him on the whole way along, because he's going to be the shortest favourite in this market by a long time. You're going to have a lot of people trying to take him on. I think on the day, he will be a bet. I think he's an awesome horse, Cass, and I wouldn't back him at these odds, but I probably will be close enough now on the day to back him.
Yeah, he'll be short at 7-2 on the day. I'd say Diarmuid and the models.
I don't think
him.
so.
I think he will. Tony, I'll sort that. I can't remember that horse. 14-1. Oh, sorry, can't remember that horse. That's Declan Quealy's horse. So
Remember that horse? Oh my God, Jesus! The technical difficulties are really rattling. We spent about 10 minutes talking about him earlier.
I'm badly rattled here, lads. I'm having my dinner either. It's 9:15. Old Park Star, we talked about him. Sortudo, we've talked about him. Skylight Hustle. Tony, he obviously took advantage of Talk to Talk falling in the Grade 1 and is going up in trip.
Wouldn't knock him. Like he's improving £7 to £10 each run this season. Needed badly in Gore and then won really well at Fairyhouse. I think Talk to Talk had him beaten in Leopardstown, but not to say going up in trip will suit him, and there might be another bit of improvement to come with him. It just proceeded to give him another run because he's had 3 already. I'm not sure that he would necessarily need another one.
Then we have a cluster of horses around 20-1. Idaho Sun, we talked about him going up on trip, so we'd be obviously of interest with him, Dermo. And Tony Lazare de Star, actually I haven't heard of that horse. He's 20-1, and so is Dr. Demonil. They're sort of the Irish angle. Have any comment on either of those?
Yeah, Lazare de Star was second to Sabacco, first him up at Navan. I thought he hung in a bit that day, and the form doesn't look so good now. But then he won well at Christmas. I'm not sure what kind of race that was. It looked to one of the weaker maiden hurdles at Leopardstown. JP McManus had a horse with Willie Mullins for that seemed to be kind of well fancied to come out kind of a non-runner. I wonder, is he any good? I'd say there's a chance he may be okay. So a bit neutral on the start of stuff. Really disappointed with Dr. de Menil in the race that Alcaira should have won. Not so much that, fair enough, getting beaten by Alcaira would have been one thing, but not being able to get by Murat, who just does loads wrong in his races, was not a good sign. Now, he did look like a steer. I would have said Dr. de Menil and maybe soft the ground up and triple head, but yeah, he would want to step forward a fair bit from that, considering the hype that was with him leading into the race.
Okay, and theoretically, right, Dermo, I'll go to you first because you've already answered. Tony, you can take an answer. You have a free bet in the race. Dermo, are you going to back No Drama this end?
No Drama this end, but I also like there's one more kind of outside of it. I think Active Innocence has been forgotten here completely because he got beaten last time out. He got beaten last time by a Paul Nicholls horse who's going for the Triumph, who I would nearly fancy for the Triumph. Active Innocence tried to give him £20 that day.
Manila Yoga, yeah.
Yeah, one of the more likeable interviews because Paul Nicholls lost Active Innocence to Nicky Henderson, and Paul Nicholls just kept it after the race. Oh, I love that. He was delighted. But anyway, Active Innocence is still a very good horse. Trying to give a horse like that £20, I just think you can forgive it, but the market can be brutal to novices. I wouldn't be writing him completely off just yet. At the moment, he'd be my free bet, but closer to the day, I do think No Drama this end will be bigger than 7-2, so I will back him on the day.
Okay. Tony, free bet in the race?
Ballyfad or Skylight Hustle. I'll go Ballyfad again. I just do like the horse.
Yeah, Ballyfel's a nice horse. He kind of reminds you of First Lieutenant or something like that going up in trip. He'll have a right chance at the trip. I think I'd probably go for him if he was going for it. Or Idaho Sun, I think will improve for the trip. The Albert Bart, it's always trickier to talk about this.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, like no drama. They send his favourite. We can skip over him. Sortudo, God knows, this will be going on for a long time. Crystal Island, Dermo, is one of your name beside. What's the story with him?
Yeah, he made his debut over hurdles over 2 miles, 6.5 furlongs. It looks like he's lost halfway. He looks like he cannot win that race. And if you watch the way he rattles home, would remind you a touch of Bob's Worth, the way he rattles home. Afterwards, Nicky Henderson and Nico de Moinville did not speak about this kind of monstrous performance with any shock or reverence at all in their voice. Went off it quietly backed 3-1 on the day. This was just a really smart performance. I'd say he'll go for that 2.5 mile race that they regularly use as a trial at the Trials Day at Cheltenham, and we'll learn a lot more about him then. But this was a really, really good performance. He could be a bit maybe too babyish yet for an Albert Bartlett, but that's gone out the window too. The best horse wins this race regularly enough now, and I think he could be anything at all, basically anything.
Yeah, I've actually backed Taurus Bay. I forgot for the 2 mile 5 race. Horse Ben Paulix.
Ben Pauling, yeah.
Yeah, and he's kind of 50-1 in the exchange. I'd say he gets 40-1. I thought he was very impressive. He beat Captain Hugo at Aintree. Captain Hugo's won since. He's probably a 130 horse. So he must be in the 140s. So that's got to put him in the mix. While we're on the Albert Bartlett, sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but Dr. Steinberg is next on our list, and I'm going to take a question here from Ben Winstanley. This ties into 2 races now. Ben thinks he'll be more of a 2.5 mile horse. So Ben's long question here is: Stephen de Grey 2 Navan Novice Hurdle has been a key Cheltenham indicator over the years, including 3 festival winners in the 2024 renewal. We'll pause there. Can you name them, Dermo? 3 festival winners from the Slade Steel won the race.
Slade Steel
won the race. And the second horse won at the Cheltenham Festival last year. Tony, any input here? You can just start throwing names.
Yeah, Lecky Watson.
Lecky Watson. Well done, Tony.
Very good.
The other 2 were the green and white horse. The better days ahead or better times ahead won the Martin Pipe. Yeah, and there was another one. Oh, Stellar Story won the
Stellar Story.
Should we be talking up Dr. Steinberg? And is there any chance he's Willie's number 1 Turner's horse? A few reasons for the theory. Willie has sent Navan Novice winners to Turners via the Nathaniel Lacey before. 2, Dr. Steinberg showed a decent turn of foot to be clear away from his rivals. And 3, there wouldn't be many Dr. Dinos who are out and out 3 milers. That seems to hold true, to be fair. So Dr. Steinberg, Tony, and then we'll move on from the Bartlett. What about him?
Visually good in Navan. Looked like a stayer. I'd say the form is fairly weak now. Paul Nolan's horse didn't get home, having travelled kind of smoothly into it. Cavanis is not very good. And the favourite, Port Authority, I actually think he might be an okay horse, but he just didn't run the form at all.
Yeah.
He was really strong in the betting. I think he might have been lame or lost a shoe, or there was some excuse for him afterwards. Have to go back and look at the steward's report. And he beat what you call Murat very well. So I think him giving a bit of a break. I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him in kind of a half decent race. Look, I think with a lot of these markets here, they're all waiting for one thing. They're waiting for Mullins to unleash 1 or 2 really good horses. Like, that's why they're betting 7-2 and 16-1 the field. Is it coming? I honestly don't know. Like, I think there's a little bit of clutching at the minute. Like, the 2 horses that won in Limerick, what were they called again? King Rascal Grey and New Proof. Now, like, I doubt anyone had them in their top 10, top 15 potential Mullins novices at the start of the season. Like, King Rascal Grey won a race that kind of looks decent enough. Like, especially the Costo horse and had plenty of talent, haven't kind of moved yard. But I just don't know. Like, even there today at Punchestown, like, he had kind of fancied horses for maiden hurdles. Didn't get the job done there. There was one with off in front there in the 3-year-old race. Odds on Ricci horse, you'd be thinking, right, Richard, look, it's gone clear there halfway. This game over. This is going to win real well. I just, where are they coming from, lads? It's kind of what I'm asking. Like I mentioned that JP horse at Christmas. That's a possibility. Maybe you mentioned the Donnelly horse, but he usually wins all the maiden hurdles in January, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and but But this market, sorry, Cass, particularly, like there's 4 Mullins horses there in the top 6 in the market, and to me that just, what was the old line from
The Derby.
O'Brien? If you've 4 Derby horses, you've no Derby horse, and I think same with Diablo Bartlett. Calvin Rigg for Dan Skelton at 25-1 shouldn't be that price. He should be much shorter. He's a really good horse. How he won last time over this course and distance in an Albert Bartlett trial, he was a bit leery jumping 2 out, but as soon as he got the rail, he stays all day. He'll have one more run. He's definitely going to this race. And at 25-1, this horse goes off an awful lot shorter than this, an awful lot shorter. And at 25-1, we know he's running, and he was absolutely excellent last time. Dan Skelton afterwards was real enthusiastic about him. And 25-1 with Bet365 for a horse like him, with his ceiling of ability, which is huge, is way too big, because Mullins he's grappling at straws at the moment, obviously, because the horses just kind of haven't shown themselves just yet. But we know this lad is here. We know he's talented, and it's just, it's far, far too big a price.
Very good. And that's a nice one, Dermo, for the Bartlett. The Triumph. No, this is a tricky market, to be fair. We won't spend too long on this. So Narciso Haas is 4-1, Tony, and Maj 2 is kind of next in at 10s. We'll be taking a view after the DRF on them, unless you have a view now.
Yeah, I do. I actually don't think this is that's complicated. I think your man, the 4th Narciso has. He'd be the only horse I'd consider backing in the race at the minute. I was actually I loved him at Christmas. Now, I don't go in for this kind of, just this, that, certainty, whatever, all this blah blah blah. But it's not hard to envisage a setup where he is 5-4 on the day at all. Like, if he just goes and wins it there. I thought he was just brilliant at Christmas, and I really wasn't expecting it. He took a huge jump forward from a Fairy House. They had a few quid on. Like, I think he was out to 4 on the exchanges, and what did he go off 5-4, 11-10, smashed. Ultra positive ride from Danny Mullins. There was a tearaway horse of Kevin Coleman's in it, was Casper Hauser. We just took it off kind of from him at halfway and just grinded out. These horses are going to love the new course, going to love the kind of 2-mile one at Cheltenham. I didn't back him after Christmas, and I'm kind of annoyed I didn't back him, to be honest, when he was 6 or 7-1. He's not really my thing back in a 4-1 shot, maybe at this shot, but I'd be strongly considering it anyway. I think he's just really impressed him, and I think rock solid form, good time, great trainer. I don't really see Manch 2 get. I know she beat him at Fairy House, and that was great. Yeah, I think he took his form up a notch Christmas.
Yeah. Very powerful through the line as well. There'll be 2 kind of Willie Hype horses out on Wednesday, so people who know a bit more than us, Macho Man and the one that came from France and the JP colours. So Dermo, anything for the Triumph at this stage?
Maestro Conti was very good over Christmas, but very kind of green. Would kind of want to see him again. I think for the moment he could be more of an entry horse. There is an awful lot of talk about this fantasy world that Nicky Henderson bought. Pat's going to cover him as well, but he was €580,000, and the talk is that this lad is absolutely pummeling all the workhorses there in Nicky Henderson. This is backed up by the fact that this horse has been consistently backed from 40s and is now 14-1 and is shortening all the time without there being any big article about him or anything. I always like when there's money like that coming. Lulamba was quite similar. Sergino was quite similar. They just shortened out of nowhere before they'd even run. This lad is absolutely, apparently, is working the house down. Cost an awful lot of money from Andrew Balding. He's now with Nicky Henderson, and if Narciso has, I couldn't agree more with Tony. I think Narciso has is an absolute beast, but if he is to have a proper challenger, it could be him, because the money is coming. It really is.
Okay, very good. We're about to have a little break for that with Pat.
Just mention one other horse. Is he in this division or not? I don't actually know, because he's coming from a totally different profile, but he was probably the other horse that I loved at Christmas. Was the horse that won the Academy Hurdle on the 29th, Lynch's Knock. Elliot owns him himself. I think he caught the eye big time now at Navan in the Academy Hurdle. Their first run of any type. When was that? Kind of early December, the day that Road Exile won his maiden hurdle. And at Christmas, they rode them slightly differently. They rode them kind of mid-division to settle them. And the two fancied horses kind of went off in front. Um, but the turn of foot he showed from kind of the two Fordham pole to pick the pair of horses up was savage. Now, you've no idea what it means because they're in their own wee. You talk about juvenile hurdlers been in their own form bubble. Like what are academy horses? They're in an ultra
Yeah,
form bubble, but
yeah, yeah.
visually deadly. Look, he can run. He can go back now. He can run a 4-year-old bumper. He can go the kind of graded route that Quinta Larago went. Not saying you're going to be saying for lots, but kind of disappointed if he isn't half decent horse anyway. Lynch is not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
Lynch
his
is
name.
not one to watch for. Okay, we're going to hear from Pat Cooney now. We'll come back then with listeners' questions. Pat Cooney from our sponsors, Bet365. Pat, a quieter weekend for you. You're a man that always gets racing, but you were probably snowed in, or did you get to Kempton?
I didn't get to Kempton. No, it was snow stop play for me, really. But I'm going to make up for it this weekend. I'm off to Windsor Friday, Ascot Saturday, and Windsor on Sunday. So 3 tremendous days racing. And we sponsor a race at Ascot on Saturday. And of course, we've got John Bon and his legion of followers out there as well. So good weekend. Protectorate's running at Windsor as well. So I'm sure there'll be some Cheltenham pointers for us all.
Will you travel down now every day, or will you stay down, get a hotel, charge it to 365 and have the time of your life for the weekend?
Something like that, yeah, but yeah, in moderation.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
nightclubbing days are long gone.
Yeah, yeah, you're heavy on the expense account, I'd say, Pat. You're definitely living the best life of anyone I know, that's for sure. So 3 days down around the Queen's country won't be too bad, or the King's country as it is now. So, Pat, today we're talking novices, novice hurdlers, and we'd loads of great racing over Christmas, especially. And you did some research on who's been backed and when they've been backed with yourselves at 365. So, where are the liabilities? Where's the smart money going in the Supreme market and the Turners, Albert Bartlett, Triumphs, and so on?
Yeah, well, first of all, with the Supreme, El Kairos, who's now the market leader for the Supreme, it was interesting to track the movements from him. Of course, he used to be owned and ridden by David Maxwell. Always had a high reputation. He should have won the bumper at Punchestown last year, of course. And prior to him going to the sales in October, we were 20-1 for him. Now, when he got sold to go to Gordon Elliott, then it's just a case of saying, well, okay, it used to be David Maxwell up board. Now it's Jack Kennedy. And literally, the sky caved in. Everyone wanted to be on, and he was 10-1 as soon as the sale went through. And then, of course, he was an unlucky loser over the Christmas period, and we shortened him to 8-1 after that. And he's continued to be well supported, and he's actually our 9-2 favourite at the moment, which is a big liability. But other horses have emerged. Talk the Talk has been popular. He too was unlucky over Christmas, falling at the last. So he has his backers. And it's an interesting market, really. We had Sober win, of course, just on Sunday, wasn't it? And he's an interesting horse. He's not your typical Willie Mullins Supreme Novice type in that he's a winner on the flat. He won at Royal Ascot over extended 2 miles. So you wonder if 2 miles would be too short for him come Cheltenham, but he got a good aggressive ride. He's an interesting runner. We clipped him from 20 into 14. But from us, it's all one-way traffic. El Kairos. I wish David Maxwell was back on board in because the liabilities wouldn't be so much to be scared about there.
I'm not sure he'd be 92 if David Maxwell was riding him. What about you, Pat? It's a very good market. I mean, Old Park Star was obviously really impressive today at Cheltenham, and there's a lot of English horses this year to the
Yeah,
fore, which is sort of unusual.
yeah, there's an interesting one as well. Harry Durham's got one, Mossy Fen Road, who
Yeah.
won, I think it was on Welsh National Day at Chepstow. And he made all that day. He absolutely belted around Chepstow. And I'm not so big on times when it comes to jump racing, but there's a few stopwatch gurus in the office, and they said he got an amazing speed figure for it. And he made all, he's bred to get further. And they're all options open for him. I'm sure he'll be entered in all 3 of the big novice hurdles. But the Supreme over the 2 miles, that's which it was at Chepstow. He flew around, he jumped great. And he's one of those you think, well, he's not going to make all and win a Supreme, but the time he clocked and the way he jumped, he might just take some pegging back. So, of current prices, I could see a bit of juice in him at around about 16-1. But he has to be taken seriously, I think. And that novice early, he's got work to do in terms of form. But certainly, the speed figure guys in the office were saying he's the quickest horse in the Supreme from what we've seen at the moment.
Okay, that's interesting. Harry Durham had that Crystal Deathtree as well. He's injured, so he's Mossy Fed Road will obviously be the number one. I think he said Durham said he's going to one of those Standy Lane or one of those Huntington or David Novice
Yeah.
Hurdles, don't they? Well, I can't think of the name of the Grade 2 race. And what about the longer races, Pat? These are markets that are tricky, aren't they? Really, the 2 mile and 2 mile 6 race at the DRF often kind of sort out the pecking order for what's going in the Turners and Albert Bartlett. I presume less money in these, or maybe you obviously have no drama this end favoured in the Turners, but wide open outside of that.
Yeah, no drama. This then is an interesting runner, because he won a point to point in Dorset down in Kent, so he hasn't got that usual, we won a good looking point to point in Ireland. He won a point to point in Dorset, so no one was really taking him seriously. And then of course he goes to Paul Nicholls, and he won first time out. And at Cheltenham, I was there that day, and he won in good fashion. I think he surprised connections that day. We were 16-1 immediately afterwards. And thinking, yeah, it's the Turners, Willie will unleash some of his battalions and Gordon Elliott and likewise. But nothing's really emerged for the race, and no drama this end. He might be entered in the Albert Bartlett as well, but he's definitely going to go for the Turners, have no fear on that. And then, of course, he won at Sandown, he won at Odds On, and again, I thought, well, okay, fair enough. He's not wowed us. He's done what he had to do. And then he won the Challow next time out. And of course, he's now been all the rage for that. So he's now 7-2. He's not going to run between now and Cheltenham. So his price isn't going to contract anymore. But you win the Challow, it's normally the kiss of death, really. Whatever wins the Challow normally comes into the Turners as one of the market leaders and blows out. So that may well be the case this time around. But we haven't seen anything in the market against him, really. So it's all one-way traffic, that market. But I say, message to ourselves, we'll have to take the English point-to-point form a bit more seriously.
Yeah. We'll be trawling through Skippington, Northcote, and all these places. We'll be looking at the farm. It must be a hard man to impress, Pat. If you weren't impressed with him at Sandown, especially, and Cheltenham, I thought he was awesome both days. But be interesting to see what comes out of the DRF, I think, to take him on. And the Bartlett, I presume, Pat, that's nearly a non-event as a betting medium, or is it?
No, it's all quiet on the Western Front. One we have laid is Crystal Island of Nicky Henderson. Again, he won, I think, first time out at Ascot. I think he surprised connections that day. He did cost 200 grand at the sales in April, so it shouldn't have been too much of a surprise. But again, it looks as though he's going to be mapped out for the race, and he's going to Doncaster. I think it's on the 24th. When there's Cheltenham on as well. There's a race called the River Don at Doncaster over 3 miles. So Connections clearly thinking he's a 3 miler. He's a 16-1 chance at the moment. Were he to come through that, I'm sure he'll be favourite for that. I could see him being favourite for the Albert Bartlett as a result of that. But the Albert Bartlett, the bookmakers always say this is a bookmaker's benefit in recent years. We have 50-1 chances. It's normally a play spot buster as well. We normally get a couple of 33-1 chances in there. I think Willie Mullins won it last year with a 6-1 chance, and Monkfish, he was going to be the next superstar, wasn't he? He won it a few years ago. But by and large, you look over the last 20 years or so, and it's always a 33-1 chance. So that's the way it's shaping this time around. But all eyes will be on Crystal Island when he comes to Donny in the end of the month.
Okay, Johnny, good place to go racing. And the Triumph Hurdle, again, hasn't taken that much shape. I suppose March 2 and Narciso has. There was a nice horse one in England last week. Oh, God, could have been for Harry Fry. I can't remember the horse, Pat. But how's that market shaping up?
Well, Narciso has. I mean, he was beaten by Monge 2 first time out, but he was mightily impressive at Leopardstown, wasn't he, over Christmas? And he was one of the few horses that really did turn up for Willie Mullins over that period, wasn't he? He certainly looked the part. He's been all the rage now. We were 8-1 immediately after that Leopardstown win, and he's now a 4-1 chance. An interesting one, I will say, though, is a horse called Fantasy World. I was just looking on a few of the websites. It's still down as being trained by Andrew Balding. That's not the case. It's trained by Nicky Henderson now, and he's owned by Lady Bamford, who owned the JCB. And they paid 580,000 for this one at the
Oh,
autumn sales.
yeah.
He's 103 rated on the flat. He won at Ascot. He's a big, strong horse. Everyone wanted to buy him. I know that much. But 580 sealed the deal, and he's at Nicky Henderson now. And we've laid him at 25-1 prior to the sale, and he's now 11-1. So he continues to shorten up in the market. Nicky Henderson with a Triumph Hurdle horse, very interesting. I'm not sure when he's due to run. Maybe they'll go to Cheltenham at the end of this month, and then maybe get another run into him. So Nicky normally likes to get 2 runs into his Triumph Hurdle horses, but make a note of him. Fantasy World, 103 on the flat. He's a pretty interesting horse. I'm not sure you'd want to pay 580,000 for him. I'd rather sell him for that than buy him. But he's an interesting one, and he could be one that really shakes the market up. So keep an eye out for him.
Okay, trawl through websites. You don't want to be Googling fantasy world websites, I'd say. You could be finding a few things there, Pat. And come here, tell me now, you just going to Ascot and Windsor, you're always racing. What is Pat Cooney's favourite race course in Ireland and in the UK, we'll say? Give us one from each.
Yeah, I like going to Perth. We sponsor up there every summer, and you get treated like royalty up there. It's a beautiful track. It's picture postcard stuff. Great, and the food is fantastic as well. So I always like going there. As for Ireland, I always like Leopardstown. I think it's a hard
Yeah.
place to knock, and the form always holds up well there. But yeah, I'd be happy to go up to Perth any day.
Yeah, fair play, Pat. And you're doing a new show with Rory and Ed Quigley, looking ahead to Cheltenham now. I presume you're having round 2 of that this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's interesting to see there's still a long, long way to go in these races. And unusually at this time of year, we've not got an odds-on favourite on the card at the Cheltenham Festival at the moment. I'm sure that might change. Final Demand is the nearest one we've got to be in odds-on, but he didn't necessarily wow everybody the other day. So, I'm sure his price will hold up for a while yet. But all these horses, they've got 2 or 3 more races in them. So plenty of movers and shakers to come.
Yeah. I look, talking to people in the shop here, the racing fans, everyone feels like it's the best and most exciting season because of this in a long, long time. So things are looking good on the National Hunt Racing front. Pat Cooney, thank you, and we'll chat to you next week. So welcome back, and we have a good few listeners' questions in today, and thanks to everyone that sent them in. And the first one is Stuart Acaster. Does Fou de Trois exist? So he certainly did exist anyways, the answer to that, Stuart. And I'd say Joe Donnelly's paid training fees as long as... So, as long as until he gets an entry. So we'll see about that. Michael Walsh, what novice hurdlers that were beaten at Christmas do you think will come forward and be a betting proposition for Cheltenham? Not the obvious 2 that fell. I actually didn't give you that question in advance, lad. So that's a tough one. Unless you could think of ones that were beaten off the top of your head, I might give you a second to think about it. If you have one, give me a nod there if you have one. Connor asks, what's the biggest or most memorable price any of you were on a novice hurdle winner for at the festival with a trumpet? Go on, Diarmuid, you're always a good man to remember your big wins. Well, we all do, I suppose. What would be your biggest?
I was a good man to remember your big wins. That's something. All my family are known for that. I don't know if I've had a big Antepost novice hurdle win at the festival, actually.
Okay.
Somerville Boy at 20-1 was my biggest one.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Yeah.
I can easily answer this one because 2 years ago,
because you're always known for your big winners. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I believe on this podcast, I tipped Slade Steele into Supreme.
Yes.
I tipped Ballyburn in the middle race, and I tipped Stellar Story in the 3-mile race.
Stellar Story at 40-1, you tipped him as well.
So if I had done a little like him, which but I didn't even fancy Stellar Story on the day, but it was tipped, so technically I have to get the credit, even though I thought it was absolutely no chance on the day. Tony, do you remember any big wins you had in novice hurdles?
No, never the winner in novice
I had a
hurdles at
bad
all.
beat now. I backed Milshawn and Brian Cooper at 300 in the Albert Park.
No, I backed him. I backed Barry Collins' horse in that, actually. That was great. Yeah.
Martello Tower, was it?
Martello Tower, lovely horse.
Oh, he
great
got
horse.
an absolute stone. That was the year that Brian Cooper was not riding well for Jigginstown and lost the job after. He was going wide and
Danny
everything.
Mullins rode Martello Tower, didn't he?
I don't know who wrote that, but I know who wrote Milshawn anyway. 300 I backed that. And a nice little bet as well. Jim Gregory asks, do you think Paul will opt for Sortudo and the Turners, assuming that's where the horse goes? Do you want to take that? I think the obvious one to that is we'll have to wait and see what happens at the DRF.
We haven't a clue now. Yeah, we haven't a clue now.
Okay,
Patrick Devereaux, would the lack of a graded run prior to Cheltenham dampen your support when it comes to backing any of the novices in the Grade 1 races? And that's a fair question and a good question. How do you assess the maiden form versus the Grade 1 form? Because that's kind of where we are with the likes of Talk to Talk and El Kairos and Idaho Sun versus all those.
Talk to Talk has graded form, in fairness. He did fall, but he was going to take it out. But,
no, I mean in comparison to each other, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I kind of made the rule last year, kind of in my head after. Am I wrong for me? I kind of kept going very dark in Novice Hurdlers. I would be looking for graded form now going into the Cheltenham Festival. Just kind of as a rule, like I know El Kairos now. I think they're going to a maiden hurdle with him next time. Just that experience is really important. I think it's very hard to kind of match that. So I would now, as a kind of a temporary rule, just as a testing rule, no graded form. I won't be backing you for a novice hurdle anyway.
Okay, fair enough. Tony, would you be as hard and fast? I think the way the season's going, you're going to have to take maiden hurdles into account in a way.
Yeah, maybe not this year. Maybe not this year.
It depends on price. I think it'll be the thing. Richard Hogan says, "I'll sort that for you." So we have and a smiley face. So I think we've covered. I'll sort that. Richard, thanks for your question. The bookies go. It seems you're an absolute idiot if you dare suggest the Irish novice hurdlers are an average bunch. Actually, I'm going to tie this into another question, which Paul Mannion says. Given a lot of the leading contenders that come from the Cheltenham bumper last year, El Kairos, No Drama, This End, Ido, Sun Sortudo, which we were convinced was ordinary, are we better looking at the ones that emerged from outside that? Talk the Talk, Skylight Hustle, Old Park Star, etc. And I kind of see where he's coming from in that the form just seems a bit mumbled up this year. Like, did we rate the bumper last year? We probably didn't at the end of the season. It seems this year it's just more competitive, isn't it? There's more question marks. That's got to mean there's more chance of a bet, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's an interesting
It's a brilliant
point.
festival ahead. Go on, sorry, Tony.
I was just going to say I didn't like the juvenile hurdlers of last season. I know Talk the Talk is a 4-year-old raising 5, but coming from a totally different set of races, like Poniris coming out and being able to win a triumph is probably a fairly bad sign of a group of horses. Training Genius and all that, but what about the rest of them? So maybe been against some of those if they do pitch up. Obviously, the horse that is most high profile of those is Lulamba, which is not advocating necessarily taking him on, but he's the chief representative of that group, really, isn't he?
I tell you what, I'd love to see. I'd love to see English horses haven't won the Supreme. Somerville Boy did, and Nicky has, but a kind of a different trainer winning it from England. Do you know, like if you had an Idaho Sun if he ran, or a Hurricane Pat, or Mossy Fen Roaders, just something different. Diarmuid, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, God, yeah. It would just be great to see something like the Paul Nichols win the Turners, and just to have 3 or 4 different trainers winning those kind of 3 or 4 races. We're on the cusp of it now.
Yeah, we are on the cusp. Yeah. A lot of good English novices this year. Adam, with the Supreme, Adam always gives us a question. With the Supreme seemingly quite open this year, do you think a juvenile could go? JP did it with Fakir before when had Sir Eric, and it seemingly got a good hand for the triumph in Narciso Has. Could the likes of Proactive go? I see where Adam's coming from. I think another example, I think Binocular was a 4-year-old when he ran in the Supreme and was beaten by Captain CB, maybe.
Captain CB.
He was a 4-year-old because he's something else. He had I can't remember. I think a horse of Alan King's that might have won the triumph for him that year. So JP is the man that will do it if he does it. He's the only one, because I think it's such a strong looking and deep Supreme. If it's going to happen, I can see where Adam's coming from. But again, the answer, if you're giving a factual answer, you'd have to say I haven't a clue yet. To live to see what happens at the DRF and see what happens with the other horses. Dermo, you want to say something there?
No, just hard to see with the depth of the Supreme why you would go that way. You'd nearly be better off just shipping them all in there and seeing how it goes. There is no standout juvenile either. So apart from Narciso Has. So unless that other JP yoke from WP Mullins absolutely flies home this week and they have a decision to make, but that's the only way I'd see it really.
Yeah, and a lot of the other questions kind of back up on each other. Nick Palfrey asking, has Willie got a Supreme horse? And we kind of dealt with that last week. Jimmy Nolan asking, is Talk the Talk got the best form? And we've talked about that. And Mark Fives, which of the Mullins horses could come forward? I know Mark is keen on Le Devon on Font, like I am as well, and maybe giving him another go. But yeah, so I suppose, but thanks anyway to all the listeners for the questions. They're very good, they're great to get. Tony, have you an eye catcher for this week? And then caught your eye?
I give you one or two there. Future Prospect won the maiden hurdle at Naas on Friday quite impressively. I like the run of Healy's Bar, trained by and owned by Oliver McKieran. I think it finished 7th. still a horse a wee bit to learn from racing. It's quite green, this bumper of Punchestown. I thought this was a run that would kind of bring him along, and he might well be aiming back at another maiden hurdle at this track where he sponsors later on this month or in February. I'm not sure which exact meeting he sponsors. He could sponsor both of them, but yeah, he might be competitive in a maiden hurdle. And the other one I liked was in the Albert Bartlett series qualifier of Punchestown, the last of Punchestown on Monday. Powerful won that race from Salalario, but I thought early in the straight, the one you would have probably wanted to be on was My Lussa. Geez, I hope I'm remembering this trainer's name right. Is it Mikael Magnussen? Sounds like someone that should be presenting Mastermind rather than training moderate handicap hurdlers in Ireland. But there you go. That horse was having its first run since Leopardstown at March, and I'll tell you what now, in Leopardstown at March, he can count himself as one of the most unlucky horses of last season, considering who he met. Do you know who he met, lads? Who beat him?
No.
Darcy's friend trained by Emmett Mullins. Do you remember that? No?
I remember the punt,
that was
yeah.
Remember the punt. Like that. Very unfortunate to run into that like that, you know. So, but yeah, a really good run. It was pushing out, this horse of Magnussen's was pushing out for 3 figures on the exchanges there during the day. But there was a bit of late support for kind of dropped out, travelled well, made a good move into it, flattened out. Just luckily the horse was going to come on for the run, and I'd say a bit of better ground would suit. And yeah, she'll be able to pick up a small race, I'd say, on better ground. Maybe even go back for the final of this. You know, you have something for me, Stephen?
Yeah, well, no, in that race, if it was anyone else now, I would have had 100 to win one that you were about to mention, the horse that finished third in that race, Moon Mission, because was the most, but I knew it was Tony Keenan, so it's not going to be that obvious. But he was the most obvious eye-catcher you'd ever seen.
Oh, he was eye-catcher too. Yeah. They were called in for him the time before that in Torres, weren't they? And when there was no need for calling them in here because it was fairly obvious what happened to him, he just got no run at all up the rail.
Yeah.
No, that was a good run, very good run too. Yeah,
very good run. He showed a lot of it. He showed a lot. You know, he had a lot in the tank to get back into the race and run on after he was so badly hampered. You know, the Moon Mission, he'd be, if you were to ask me for an eye catcher, but I'm an obvious Eric, so I would have gone for him. This is what people want. These horses are all rated about 86 or something, aren't they? As well, the good stuff.
Top class stuff.
Yeah. Dermo, any eye catcher for you?
Actually, none. No, I went through the kind of UK racing and all the right ones won, Cass.
Yeah, very good. So we're kind of done. Are we done? Am I missing any homework, Dermo? We'll be back next week.
No, we're all good. We'll get there. Cameron's going to kill
3 mile hurdle
all the edits tonight, but bar that, all good. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to apologise for talking over each other. We get a comments on YouTube about that, but it's to do with the Wi-Fi lag, and it's to do with my probably technical issues most of the time. But yeah, look, we'll be back next week. Dermo, I might be sick next week because we're talking about the 3 mile hurdle division, and listeners, I'd skip it anyway. It's the most boring division there is. We've shoehorned the old novice hurdler. The novice chasers in there as well, so in fairness, she'll be all right. She'll be all right. We can, you can go to a different room again, Casper, to stay your heart. Like in those American shows when they go next week and we slam that final demand. Willie Mullins has gone into game. Next week, Tony Keenan's going to write off Willie forever. Final demand.
Tony Keenan. Willie is still gone at the game. Keenan, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for sticking with us, and we will chat to you all next week.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cobden Star into submission.